All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Emily Morgan with Delegate Solutions. We are here today with one of our team members, Amber LaRue, who's based in Missouri, and one of the clients that she works with, Tom Hood. I want to share a little bit about Tom Hood, but first, welcome to you both.
It's
Um,
great.
so Tom Hood is the CEO of MACPA, the Maryland Association of CPAs, and the Business Learning Institute. He's considered one of the most influential leaders in the global accounting profession. He was named the second most influential person in accounting by Accounting Today for the past 8 years. That's a crazy stat. And one of LinkedIn's top 100 influencers. And he now has over 800,000 followers on LinkedIn and Twitter. He's one of the first thought leaders inducted into the Accounting Hall of Fame, and his passion is really about helping CPAs and organizations be future ready through his work at MACPA and the Business Learning Institute. At the Business Learning Institute, they provide state-of-the-art learning curriculum, strategy, and leadership development for the top 500 CPA firms, Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, and state CPA societies. So he's been the CEO of MACPA and BLI for 22 years now. So I think you know a little bit about accounting, Tom. I don't know. What do you think?
A little bit. I like to say even a blind squirrel can find a nut sometimes.
Well, we're so honored to have you with us. If we can talk a little bit about your journey with Delegate, and we worked together for over a year now. I've personally met you. I've come down to Maryland to your
Yep.
offices, which was really fun. Got to meet your amazing team. And we'd like to understand a little bit about what you were looking for and how we've been able to help.
So I think the journey started actually with another one of your clients who we know pretty well, which is the Boomer Consulting Group. And I work with those guys quite a bit. And they were talking about, hey, we're starting to work with this, for them it was a new company, but a virtual executive assistant role and virtual assistants for their group. And as we were working through things, we found that my schedule was getting busier and busier. We had a person that was on site doing being our executive assistant, and we said, maybe we actually need someone with an extra set of skills.
Mm-hmm.
So the good news is you guys had been working with us with one of our other teams, and we love that you knew a lot of the major tools that we use. So if you really want to know, Emily, the big thing I think was having the availability of someone, and virtual certainly was something we were all open to, but with the right skills and tool sets.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that your team was well versed in a lot of the applications that we were using, Google, the Google Office Suite, Slack, Asana, those types of things really lent itself to why we thought this would be a really good fit. And, kind of the rest is history to a degree. We've been working on getting really good at that. We're rolling those are tools we use throughout the whole company. But that's where, Amber came to us, and you guys had her already skilled in those areas. So we didn't have to teach those concepts. She could come online and do that right away. So also really good organization skills, really, great at doing the heavy duty, what I call the detail, but very important detail work, calendar, email, those kind of things. So that's really where we've kind of grown into that spot together. I'll let Amber tell her side of that, but that's really what I think attracted us and continues to be a really good benefit of how you do these things.
Plus EOS, I know originally we connected on that level as well because we're both running on Entrepreneur's Operating System.
Correct.
And we kind of get into the case study that we put together. But Amber, I guess from your perspective, what made Tom and his team such a great client for Delegate?
So I think the biggest thing for me is that Tom and the team at MACPA they've all been so welcoming, and they're open and willing to hear new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And how we can make progress. It's just the little things that, they have the big picture, but we're like, hey, if we do this, that might make this easier 6 months from now. And everybody's just been so welcoming and just really great to work with.
So really receptive to the help. Would you agree, Tom?
Yes, yep. And I would say, Emily, the other thing you alluded to, the whole EOS part, I think at the beginning of our relationship and even going forward, and I think this is true for a lot of your other potential clients, there's a need right now to accelerate execution. And in my case, I do Gallup strengths. We do a lot about the kind of strengths methodology, and I don't have much of an executing strength at all. So
Oh, interesting.
I'm a visionary on the EOS world. Jackie Brown, my COO, is the executor or integrator. So the point was using the entrepreneurial operating system. Bill Sheridan on our team is a certified implementer. We're his, I say, first and worst client about practicing it on us, but that's made a huge difference. So having your team that's also very familiar with those concepts, that translates into faster cycle times.
Sure.
And if you look at now what's going on with COVID, all the things we're looking at say COVID's accelerating these trends.
Yeah.
Remote work, virtual assistants, right? Technology, all those pieces. So if there's ever been a time for this, the time is now, because these trends are just accelerating. Some are saying by 5 years. Someone said, 2020 is now the new 2025.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, then the execution phase that we all need is going to accelerate. And that's where your team seems to play a really important role from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, our service is definitely built to plug right in. So we're not dealing with, having to find, manage, and train the team that's being deployed. Like, they're already trained, they're our employees, and they're really here to we already know virtual work because we've been doing it for 13 years. So it's really easy for us to just turn the switch on. And we need clients like you, Tom, that are just open to how we do what we do, because what we do is very prescriptive. I think it's malleable within the box that it lives in, but it's a very prescriptive way of working together. So let's take a minute and just talk about the different ways that we've helped you. Maybe Amber, can you kind of walk us through the work that you do with Tom and the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing that we do for Tom is manage Tom, his calendar, his inbox. His calendar is really the biggest thing, and making sure that all of the things that he has to do are in Asana, which we use for project management, and that he has that time. That's one of the most recent things we've done is implement that time blocking for Tom, which has been really beneficial, especially with the shift into the COVID world, where Tom has that space to really focus on the things that he needs to get done, and he's not bogged down with the day-to-day things that are thrown his way. So calendar management for Tom is the biggest thing I think we do, shuffling his busy schedule.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys also, I guess, subscribe to Dan Sullivan and the strategic coach methodologies as well. And that's another one that we've dabbled in. We aren't a client of his, but the whole idea of time blocking and setting the objectives for how we were going to work and what our goals were, it was originally hopeless. I'm sure poor Amber was like, this will never happen. And in the last, I would say last month maybe, Amber, we've gotten to a lot of, she uses an orange block on my calendar now that's got the focus time or R&D time. So we've been able to start blocking chunks of time, which before my calendar just collapsed by being full by all the demands that were coming in.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to be more proactive as I looked out. And so coming through this pandemic crisis, it got worse before it got better, because we were dealing with massive legislation. We're like, right now we're in the middle of working with Congress on the next act that's going to be released probably in the next week.
Wow.
We've gone through 5 massive legislation pieces at the federal and state level that required us to be ready to educate our members, all the CPAs in Maryland, about what all this meant to them and to their clients. So we like to say that CPAs are now on the front lines of the financial crisis, trying to help people keep their livelihoods, whereas the nurses and docs are on the front lines of the medical crisis and always will be. But we're not saying we're equal to that, but I can tell you there's been a lot of CPAs who've been just literally 24/7 trying to deal with all of this complexity. And in the end of the day, they all feel like they've helped make a difference. So that notion would have, in my old days with a calendar that was already packed, probably would have completely swamped us. And so working with you all at Delegate and Amber in specific, we've been able to start to manage that in a much more thoughtful, intentional, and proactive way. And I think that's made a big difference.
I love that. That's a great testimonial because we call that gatekeeper scheduling. So it's one thing to just, respond to meeting requests, put it on the calendar. It's a whole different thing to have a strategy and a mindset around the entrepreneurial time system for one. So free focus and buffer days, the concept of time blocking, the concept of saying no and putting up some gates around your schedule so that you can be as productive as possible.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, the fact that you all had some tools that we didn't even know about. DelegateElevate was another one that you guys have helped us with, and not just with me, but with some members of our team. That's another powerful concept, right, that comes out of EOS that's been very useful. And that's where you start to say, what could I be delegating? And then the question is who? And that's where Delegate Solutions comes in with that. You've got a lot of people that are good at that who and how level of those kinds of delegated tasks. So
yeah,
that makes a difference. And the fact that you're well versed in those methodologies, and there are others out on the market, but the ones that you picked happen to be ones that we were very familiar with and picked ourselves for the most part. So that compatibility, I think, also accelerated the ability to kind of work together from that standpoint.
Yeah, we like to say that we're the execution of a lot of those concepts because we don't come up with the concepts, but we come up with how we help people actually do the different things that they're learning. So
yeah,
thank you.
And I would say, again, as I look forward, this should be much more in demand because everyone is trying to do more with less. Everyone is working in a virtual world right now. So if you had a great executive assistant that was physically in your office, you've lost that. And if that relied on a lot of that, now systems and processes will replace what was that back and forth every any minute kind of thing. And I think that's where there's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, we definitely try to remove as much of the urgency because Amber, how many hours a week are you working with Tom and the team?
I think we work probably about 5 hours a week with Tom. Give or take, depending on the week, what Tom commits to that week.
So we're basically working
or maybe I froze.
Yeah, sorry. She was saying we're working with you about an hour a day, about 5 hours a week. So I'm trying to draw the correlation that we're able to bring this much impact in such a compressed amount of time. And one of the ways that we do that is by creating processes, removing the urgency behind a lot of things as much as possible. So yeah, so not only the idea that you don't need someone in the office with you, but maybe you don't need somebody full time. You don't need 40 hours a week. You can get a lot done in 2 to 5 hours a week, 1 to 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
But let's kind of close talking about what you guys are working on. So lots going on legislatively for you, but what are some of the exciting things at BLI and MACPA that you like to talk about?
So I think, if you take the kind of notion of helping CPAs help the business community through this legislation, that'll be the same focus probably through almost the end of the year. I mean, this next big act coming out of Congress expected to be between, $1 and $2 trillion.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a whole lot of people trying to figure that out. The second big thing we're doing, though, is what's after COVID. And we're working on some research and tools, quite frankly, about what people are going to need as we work through this. So we're in right now the reopening phase. We like to say there was 5 phases. First was like the shock, which was just pick yourself up and, we would call resilience. The next one was beginning to figure out the relief, like what am I going to do from how do I get relief to our company or how do I survive cash flow wise, those kind of things. And now we're in the reopening phase, which is, as we all know, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, or 2 steps backwards sometimes. And we're going to shake through that. But all these businesses and our profession are reimagining what's going to be like on the other side of this, because we're not going back to normal is what our research says. So we are going to be in some kind of quasi-permanent flex, state, if you will, virtual. And so I think we're looking at what are the skills we need. And right now we're kind of, that's what we do, right? We help upskill the profession to meet these changing demands. And so right now we're seeing three big skills: anticipation, to be able to figure out the trends that you can see that are coming at you and learn what people are doing coming through COVID, business-wise, not health-wise. Secondly is going to be agility for the trends that you can't see and predict. You're going to have to be a fast reactor. That gets to this idea of execution a bit, right? And then the final one is to be totally adaptable, to be able to learn new things quickly and apply them. So back to that faster execution cycle. So I think what we're trying to do is provide the skills, and some of it's technology skills, some of it's applications and other connections we do with our partners, like we're doing with you guys, right? Plugging in people that will help our profession adapt faster to this whole thing. And I know, in the early days, our members have been so swamped with this COVID stuff, but they are starting to come up for air now. We got tax season behind us through July 15.
Yeah.
And so now they're ready to start paying attention and saying, okay, what do I have to do to be ready to help our business clients, or if they're CFOs, et cetera, to do that? So that's where we think we're excited about the potential of where all this goes from that standpoint. So that's our job, is helping them adapt faster and be more successful in this really fast changing world.
Well, your work's really important. And I know you work outside of Maryland. So for anyone listening, can you kind of share who you typically work with?
Our Business Learning Institute, we do provide both, things in the world of CPAs in Maryland. That's related to the Maryland Association of CPAs. Business Learning Institute, we do, strategy consulting. We do curriculum. We design learning to help people move through these new skills. So those are the pieces that we do. So learning would be the big one, and strategy. And we work with, the top CPA firms in the world, as well as large corporate public accounting finance groups, and then everyday CPAs all over the place, controllers, CFOs, small practitioners. Yeah. So it's in the wheelhouse of finance and accounting community, though. But thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, we love working with accountants because they're so process driven, and they're really great. It's a really great fit for what we do too, because they're easy to work with, because we kind of speak the same language.
Yeah, exactly.
And where can everyone go to find out more about your work and possibly working together?
Well, the biggest, so you could go to our website. It's www.blionline.org. That's the main Business Learning Institute, or macpa.org is our Maryland one. Or you can connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm Tom Hood, and LinkedIn, Twitter, and the social stats are. I'm amazed at that. And the beauty is, I didn't pay for that. People follow you because you say good stuff. So.
And you're always wearing really cool outfits, so that really helps.
Yeah, and I bet how many of the people out there had no idea there was an accounting hall of fame. So that's a whole other one.
You're so famous.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's our honor to have you with us today and to support you and the team at MACPA. Your work is so important, and we are so glad to be part of it.
Well, and we're glad you guys are doing this kind of work, because it's, I think it's unique and very needed. And I think you're going to see, I bet, a whole lot of people asking about this as we work through these phases and the fog of COVID starts to clear, hopefully soon.
Yeah, for us, I've been in business 13 years, and it's been 13 years of why it's okay to work remotely, right? It works. And now it's poof, everybody's remote and it's working. It's
overnight, right? And overnight. I think tons of people are like us. They're saying, do we ever need to go back? So yeah. I think you're going to see more and more of that, Emily. So keep that great work up. I want to say to everyone out there, please stay safe, and let's get through this thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Tom, and Amber, you too. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.